I've mentioned before the two different categories of people I've been seeing when it comes to Skyrim Anniversary Edition. On the one hand, you've got people who are excited for Skyrim Anniversary Edition, and on the other, you've got people who just want Bethesda to stop re-releasing Skyrim. I think the latter category of people just want to see The Elder Scrolls 6 release at some point before their great-grandchildren die, and I think that's reasonable. And I get the other perspective as well. Skyrim is a great game. Why not celebrate the 10-year anniversary of it with a new version of the game that comes with all the Creation Club mods? There's almost like a bundle to bypass the paid mod system in a way, especially for console players where the options otherwise are quite limited. Not completely, I'd imagine there's still a cost, but you know what I mean. And so the discussion of this video, despite not knowing the asking price for the game yet, is Skyrim Anniversary Edition going to be worth it? A question more designed to spark the discussion, or at least feed into the discussion in this case rather than anything else. However, I'm also going to use the grabby title to try to be informative and tell you who I think the Skyrim Anniversary Edition may be worthwhile for, and who it may not be worthwhile for. That way you can come to the conclusion for yourself as to whether or not you think Skyrim Anniversary Edition is going to be worthwhile for you. I'm not some messiah, this will of course still be somewhat opinion based. However, in the process of making this video, I think it's fair to say that I'm also weighing up whether or not I think it's worthwhile for myself. It probably doesn't help that my modded Skyrim Special Edition is fucked and I can't be arsed fixing it. I know what you're thinking, why is everything so brown? I don't have an answer for you. I'll break this entire discussion down into chunks as well, so that it doesn't seem like I'm trying to tell you everything at once and causing more confusion than anything else. So firstly, I think that we should begin by going over what exactly it is that we're getting. Essentially, the Skyrim Anniversary Edition is just the Skyrim Special Edition. However, it comes bundled with all of the Creation Club content released so far, and some more Creation Club content that is yet to release. The Creation Club is a paid mod system, basically a microtransaction storefront, where you pay money for points that you can use on the Creation Club, and then mods can vary in the amount of points they cost for you to buy them. It hasn't exactly been anybody's favourite business practice, but it was pretty easy to ignore considering the modding scene for Skyrim was massive, especially on PC, where you could easily find other, and most of the time better mods for free online. I suppose the Anniversary Edition is going to serve as a cheaper option to explore all of the Creation Club's mods, though 4 of these mods will be given away free to Special Edition owners as something of an appetizer for those who do not wish to upgrade to the Anniversary Edition. The takeaway is, even though we don't know how much the Anniversary Edition is going to cost, it certainly will cost something, otherwise they wouldn't bother doing this appetizer nonsense. However, before we get onto that value discussion, here's what we know the Skyrim Anniversary Edition will include. The Skyrim Special Edition, all 3 of the original DLCs, apparently next-gen improvements at some point, all previously released Creation Club items, and some more new Creation Club items that are yet to be released. Apparently there will be 74 Creation Club items included with Skyrim Anniversary Edition that will represent over 500 new gameplay elements. Now, if you already own the Skyrim Special Edition or Xbox Game Pass, you will have the option to upgrade to Skyrim Anniversary Edition, though considering what we know so far, I doubt this will be a free upgrade. However, it may work out cheaper than having to buy a copy outright. Or at least that's how I'd imagine it would be, otherwise what would be the point in having an upgrade option when buying it outright is the only thing you can do. So we'll roll with that on our logic, however, we don't know. Now, in addressing who this sort of upgrade will be most suitable for, the answer is going to be console players primarily, considering PC players can easily find free, better mods online that they just have to install, and it's honestly not even that difficult. So if you like manually modding the game yourself and play PC, your best bet is more than likely going to be to stick with the Special Edition and just mod that. I suppose the Anniversary Edition is less hassle for a modded experience, if you can call it that, but modding Skyrim myself over the years has proven to be incredibly rewarding, as you can take the basis of the game and turn it into whatever you want it to be and whatever you want it to look, almost, within the limitations of it still being an Elder Scrolls game anyhow, and that's more than likely one of the main reasons for Skyrim's longevity. However, there is a bit of a worry with modding Special Edition, considering there will be an update coming on the 11th of November to add in these Creation Club mods that runs the risk of essentially fucking the Skyrim script extender, which is a relatively fundamental mod. You've probably heard of it if you mod the game, as it will more than likely need updating, as will any mods that rely on it. However, the benefit of using a script extender is you have to launch the game from that or from your mod manager rather than launching it from the Steam games library. So provided you disable the updates for Skyrim Special Edition and back up the exe in the game files, you'll probably be okay if this Skyrim Anniversary Edition just doesn't seem to appeal to you at all. But of course, running older versions of games will always be on borrowed time, but it will at least give the modders time to update the Skyrim script extender and the mods that rely upon it. Though considering these are mods and not official DLC, that's not always going to be a given. Though that is a tangent in the context of this video, it's good information to have. There are plenty of videos out there that explain it far better than I can. Another group of people this Anniversary Edition may appeal to are those who want to play Skyrim but haven't managed to do so yet, especially considering the price for Skyrim Special Edition was quietly bumped up around the time that the Anniversary Edition got announced. The Anniversary Edition being the latest version and also not being much more expensive, say, than the Special Edition, may make it seem more appealing to new players who haven't experienced Skyrim yet and want to. On a different note, considering the price for Skyrim Special Edition is £35 here in the UK, I would not be surprised if the Anniversary Edition sat between £40 and £60 to buy. Though I think it's fair to say that conversion doesn't have very strict bearing on the value of a game from region to region. Also considering they'll still want to keep the Creation Club running as a microtransaction store for those who do not wish to upgrade, I can't imagine it being on the lower end of that scale. To not devalue one over the other, they'll want people to be sat on the fence a little bit. And I think that plays into the question that is the title of this video a bit. Regardless of what price the Anniversary Edition winds up being, it's important to keep in mind that this is a re-release of a 5-year-old remaster to a 10-year-old game with extra bits and pieces thrown in. There may be next-gen enhancements later on down the line, but that's not a part of the Anniversary Edition as it's sold to us, so we can't really consider it part of the value. That being said, I'm not going to sit here and say that if you buy Skyrim again you're an idiot, because that's simply not a fair thing to say, considering whether or not you think this is worth it is completely up to you as an individual and what you want. And like I said, I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to make the splash yet myself. In fairness, as flimsy as a point this is, and I'm well aware of that, there are far worse games that you could re-release than Skyrim, and there is definitely a sentimental value added to re-releasing the game on the 10th anniversary of the original launch. And so what I'm trying to say is that definitely injects an element of ambivalence in the consumer's mindsets, though I'm still well aware there are people who will play Skyrim to death and will have no qualms purchasing it again if it means they get to experience Skyrim Anniversary Edition purely because it's the game they still love, and there are also people who are completely disinterested because they want this game to hurry up and fucking die, because they're tired of seeing re-releases to a game this old and would rather see the Elder Scrolls 6 at some point before they die themselves. And it's like Todd Howard said a few years back, if you want us to stop re-releasing Skyrim, stop buying it. And so, as bleak as this may be, another factor to consider in whether or not this is going to be worth it is whether or not you actually give a shit, at least as far as regarding Bethesda's business practices around Skyrim and all these re-releases. And if you do, fair enough, and if you don't, fair enough. I think there are far worse business practices out there in the games industry for the consumer to pay attention to than the occasional re-release of a critically acclaimed RPG. But I do get the frustration. As far as video games go, you could categorize Skyrim as a cockroach, or a Honda Jazz, since it simply refuses to die. Another thing I think is probably very reasonable to mention before we conclude this video is whether or not you actually care about what's being offered on the Creation Club and what's being promoted as new content for Skyrim Anniversary Edition, and whether or not you want to experience that. Because if the answer's no, then what's the point in buying the Anniversary Edition? But if the answer's yeah, I'd imagine it will make more sense than buying every individual piece of Creation Club content separately, because unless Bethesda has really lost their minds, it should work out cheaper. Significantly. So there are pros and cons to ponder over with regards to whether or not the Skyrim Anniversary Edition is going to be worth it for you as an individual, but that's for you to weigh up. For me, I've never really paid attention to the Creation Club content, but maybe I should give it a whirl this Anniversary Edition just to see what's actually on there. And as a content creator, of course, there's content to be had from that. And that's my loophole for hypocrisy, friends. No, I'm not saying this is a good or a bad deal. It depends entirely on what you're after, as I cannot judge whether or not it's worth it for you. I can only judge whether or not it's going to be worth it for me, and I can't tell you that either 100% for sure, because let's face it, We don't have a price yet. Once we do, everything will become clearer, but they're really cutting it close considering we've just got just over a week until this thing supposedly drops. So I thought I'd throw this video down weighing up more or less everything else that we know, and I hope it's at least been helpful somehow, because that was the intention of the video, and if it hasn't done that, I'm gonna go sit in a Honda Jazz because I no longer like my life. But anyway, that brings us to the end of this video, so thank you all for watching. I really hope that you've enjoyed. Be sure to go ahead, leave a like, subscribe, share the channel with your friends and all that wonderful stuff. That would be super fantastic. And with any luck, I'll be seeing you all very soon with another video at some point. But until next time, take care and goodbye.